Today, some artists appear driven by an ambition, on the one hand, to inhabit a place of total affect, and on the other, to be drained of affect altogether. On the one hand, to possess the obscene vitality of the wound, and on the other, to occupy the radical nihility of the corpse. Pure affect, no affect. It hurts. I can't feel anything. Why this fascination with trauma, this envy of abjection now? To be sure, motives exist within art, writing, and theory alike. There is a dissatisfaction with the textual model of reality, as if the real, repressed in post-structuralist postmodernism, had returned as traumatic. Then, too, there is a disillusionment with the celebration of desire as an open passport of a mobile subject, as if the real, dismissed by a performative postmodernism, were marshaled against a world of fantasy now felt to be compromised by consumerism. But obviously there are other forces at work as well. A despair about the persistent AIDS crisis, invasive disease and death, systemic poverty and crime, a destroyed welfare state, indeed a broken social contract, as the rich opt out in a revolution from the top, and as the poor dropped out in immiseration from the bottom. How one articulates these different forces is a difficult question, perhaps a definitive question for cultural criticism. In any case, these forces have driven the contemporary concern with trauma and abjection, and one result is this: a special truth seems to reside in traumatic or abject states, in diseased or damaged bodies. To be sure, the violated body is often the evidentiary basis of important witnessings to truth, of necessary testimonials against power. But there are dangers with this citing of truth as well, such as the restriction of our political imagination to two camps, the abjector and the abjected, and the assumption that in order not to be counted among sexists and racists, one must become the phobic object of such subjects. If there is a subject of history for the culture of abjection at all, it is not the worker, the woman, or the person of color, but the corpse. This is a politics of difference pushed beyond indifference, a politics of alterity pushed to nihility. But is the point of nihility a critical epitome of impoverishment, where power cannot penetrate? Or is it a place from which power emanates in a strange new form? Is abjection a refusal of power, or its reinvention in a strange new guise? Or is it somehow both, these events at once? Finally, is abjection a space-time beyond redemption, or is it the fastest route for contemporary rogue saints to grace? Today there is a general tendency to redefine experience, individual and historical, in terms of trauma. A lingua trauma is spoken in popular culture, academic discourse, and the art and literary worlds. Many contemporary novelists, e.g. Paul Auster, Dennis Cooper, Steve Erickson, Dennis Johnson, Ian McEwan, Tim O'Brien, and filmmakers Adam Egoyan and Exotica, Terry Gilliam and 12 Monkeys, conceive experience in this paradoxical modality. Experience that is not experienced, at least not punctually, that comes too early or too late, that must be acted out compulsively or reconstructed after the fact, almost analytically. Often in these novels and films, narrative runs in reverse or moves very erratically, and the climax is an event that happened long ago or not at all. Per the logic of trauma, this is sometimes ambiguous. On the one hand, especially in art, writing, and theory, this trauma discourse continues the post-structuralist critique of the subject by other means. For strictly in a psychoanalytic register, there is no subject of trauma. The position is evacuated. So in this sense, the critique of the subject is most radical here. On the other hand, especially in therapy culture, talk shows, and memoir mongering, trauma is treated as an event that guarantees the subject. And in the psychologistic register, the subject, however disturbed, rushes back as survivor, witness, testifier. Here a traumatic subject does indeed exist, and it has absolute authority, for one cannot challenge the trauma of another. One can only believe it, even identify with it, or not. In trauma discourse, then, the subject is evacuated and elevated at once. And in this way it serves as a magical resolution of contradictory imperatives in contemporary culture. The imperative of deconstructive analysis on the one hand, and the imperative of multicultural histories on the other. The imperative to acknowledge the disrupted subjectivity that comes of a broken society on the one hand, and the imperative to affirm identity at all costs on the other. Today, 30 years after the death of the author, we are witness to a strange rebirth of the author as zombie, to a paradoxical condition of absentee authority.